The Clippers Curse. Few franchises embody bad luck like the Los Angeles Clippers. For decades, they were the NBA's laughingstock, stuck in the shadow of the Lakers while battling everything from injuries to awful ownership. Donald Sterling's reign poisoned the franchise with scandal and dysfunction. And even when Lob City arrived with Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan, the curse didn't let up. They blew multiple 3-1 playoff leads, suffered freak injuries at the worst possible times, and could never break through to the conference finals until 2021. But even then, Kawhi Leonard went down with a torn ACL, derailing their best chance at a title. The curse is so ingrained that fans almost expect disaster when the Clippers gain momentum. New ownership brought respectability, but the streak of collapses and injuries has kept the narrative alive. And just when it looked like Paul George and Kawhi might deliver, their pairing has become defined by absence more than dominance. The Clippers aren't just unlucky, they feel doomed. But as bad as that is, another curse has haunted New York for decades. The Knicks lottery curse. The Knicks have always been a marquee franchise, but their draft luck has been comically bad. Fans still believe the frozen envelope conspiracy gifted Patrick Ewing to New York in 1985, but after that, the magic disappeared. Since then, the Knicks have repeatedly fallen in the lottery, missing out on stars like Tim Duncan, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Zion Williamson. Each time, hope builds around ping pong balls, and each time, the disappointment feels heavier. Instead, they've landed players who never lived up to the hype, leaving the team stuck in cycles of mediocrity. Even when they found a star like Kristaps Porzingis, it ended in messy trades and drama. The curse is more than just bad luck. It's the weight of expectations in Madison Square Garden, where every mistake is magnified. Fans chant for saviors, but the lottery never delivers. And while other franchises turn lottery picks into dynasties, New York keeps waiting for its miracle. Yet as cursed as the Knicks are, another team has suffered in ways far more controversial. The Sacramento Kings referee curse. Ask any Kings fan about the 2002 Western Conference Finals, and they'll tell you it wasn't just a loss. It was a robbery. Facing the Lakers, Sacramento had the best record in the NBA, with Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, and Peja Stojakovic forming a powerhouse. But in Game 6, officiating became the story. The Lakers shot 27 free throws in the fourth quarter alone, while the Kings were whistled for soft fouls. Tim Donaghy, the referee later exposed for gambling connections, even admitted years later that officials may have influenced the outcome. Sacramento fans never got over it, calling it the worst officiating scandal in NBA history. The Kings lost in 7 games, their best chance at a championship erased. Since then, the franchise endured one of the longest playoff droughts in sports. It felt like the curse of 2002 followed them for nearly 2 decades. Even their long-awaited 2023 playoff return ended in heartbreak against the Warriors. But the Kings aren't the only team haunted by endless finals heartbreak. The Suns' finals curse. Few franchises have come as close to glory without sealing it as the Phoenix Suns. In 1993, Charles Barkley led them to the finals against Michael Jordan's Bulls, only to fall short. In the 2000s, the Steve Nash era brought 7 seconds or less excitement, but constant playoff heartbreak. Suspensions, injuries, and referee controversies stopped them every time. Then came 2021. With Chris Paul and Devin Booker, the Suns surged back to the finals, taking a 2-0 lead over the Bucks. It felt like the curse was ending, but Giannis Antetokounmpo delivered a legendary finals performance, capped by the block, and Phoenix collapsed in 4 straight games. Chris Paul's legacy became defined by being close but never winning, and the Suns' curse grew stronger. Even after trading for Kevin Durant in 2023, their roster unraveled under injuries and chemistry issues. Phoenix has everything: stars, fans, and chances, but never the trophy. And if Suns fans feel doomed, they share company with another star whose story became the most infamous curse of the modern NBA, the Derrick Rose curse. In 2011, Derrick Rose became the youngest MVP in NBA history, electrifying Chicago and reviving hopes of another Bulls dynasty. But 1 year later, it all came crashing down. In the 2012 playoffs, Rose tore his ACL in a shocking moment that shifted the entire trajectory of his career and the Bulls franchise. Chicago went from legitimate title contenders to a team cursed by what if. Rose battled back with multiple comebacks, but injuries piled up: ankles, meniscus, another knee tear. Every time he seemed ready to return to greatness, disaster struck. Fans began to believe the Bulls were cursed ever since Jordan left, and Rose was the tragic embodiment of it. Even when he found redemption years later with the Timberwolves and Knicks, the memory of what could have been lingered. The franchise itself never recovered, cycling through rebuilds and false starts, haunted by the collapse of their star. Rose's story isn't just about one player. It became a symbol of bad fortune in Chicago. But as painful as that was, Portland's curse might be even worse. Trailblazers' injury curse. Portland basketball history is filled with talent, but it's also filled with heartbreak. In the 1984 draft, they infamously picked Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan, and Bowie's career was derailed by devastating leg injuries. Just as the franchise tried to move on, Bill Walton, who had delivered Portland's only championship in 1977, saw his career wrecked by foot problems. Decades later, the cycle repeated. Brandon Roy looked like a future Hall of Famer, then chronic knee injuries forced him to retire early. Greg Oden was chosen first overall in 2007, hailed as a generational big man, but injuries robbed him of almost his entire career. Even Damian Lillard, their modern superstar, carried nagging injuries that capped playoff runs. For Portland fans, it feels like the universe conspires to snatch away every star just as greatness becomes possible. And it's not just bad luck, it's an identity. Every era begins with hope, then ends in a trainer's room. But while Portland was cursed with injuries, another franchise was cursed by a single trade they never lived down: the Kobe trade curse. In 1996, the Charlotte Hornets drafted a teenage guard named Kobe Bryant with the 13th pick. Days later, they traded him to the Lakers for veteran center Vlade Divac. That single move changed NBA history. Kobe went on to win 5 championships, become one of the greatest players ever, and cement the Lakers' dynasty alongside Shaquille O'Neal. Meanwhile, the Hornets have never come close to matching that success. They've cycled through stars like Baron Davis, Kemba Walker, and LaMelo Ball, but championships remain out of reach. Fans still groan whenever the trade is brought up, knowing their franchise passed on a legend for short-term stability. What makes it worse is how the Hornets have never truly shaken their small market struggles. Limited playoff success, constant roster turnover, and being overshadowed in their own region. The Kobe trade isn't just a bad move, it became the symbol of wasted opportunity, and what makes this curse sting even more is that Chicago knows exactly how it feels when a legend leaves and nothing can replace him. The post-Jordan Bulls curse. When Michael Jordan retired for good in 1998, the Bulls dynasty evaporated overnight. Management broke apart the roster, sending Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and Phil Jackson out the door. The team has been searching for an identity ever since. Years of tanking and rebuilding never brought another superstar to Jordan's level. High draft picks like Eddie Curry, Tyson Chandler, and Jay Williams all flopped or fell victim to accidents and injuries. Derrick Rose briefly revived hope, but his downfall only added fuel to the belief that the Bulls are cursed without Jordan. Even after Rose, the Bulls struggled to build around Jimmy Butler, trading him just before he blossomed into a superstar in Miami. Today, the franchise continues to drift, caught between trying to compete and being stuck in mediocrity. Chicago's entire existence feels like a shadow of Jordan's era, as if his ghost hovers over the United Center. The city has tasted the highest peak, but since then, it's been endless valleys. And if Chicago feels cursed, New York might argue theirs is even worse. The Patrick Ewing curse. Patrick Ewing was the face of the Knicks for 15 seasons, carrying them to 2 NBA Finals appearances and becoming one of the greatest centers of his era. But when the Knicks traded him in 2000, everything fell apart. The franchise spiraled into dysfunction, racking up losing seasons, bad trades, and front office chaos. Fans began to believe that moving on from Ewing triggered a curse, a punishment for discarding their franchise legend. Since then, New York has endured moments like Stephon Marbury drama, Amari Stoudemire's injuries, and the Carmelo Anthony era ending in disappointment. The Knicks became more known for chaos than success, missing the playoffs year after year, despite playing in basketball's biggest market. Even when Ewing returned as a visiting assistant coach, the franchise's instability continued. The Knicks went from finals contenders to punchlines, and the trade that ended Ewing's era became the symbol of everything that followed. But it's not just legends who carry curses, even active stars like Chris Paul can't seem to escape theirs. The Chris Paul curse. Chris Paul is one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, yet his career has been defined by near misses and bad breaks. From New Orleans to the Clippers to Houston and Phoenix, every team he's led has fallen just short of a championship. Injuries always seem to strike at the worst time. In 2018, the Rockets were up 3-2 on the Warriors in the conference finals, only for Paul to injure his hamstring and miss the final 2 games. The Clippers, despite their talent, repeatedly blew big series leads, cementing their reputation for for collapse. Even with the Suns in 2021, Paul finally reached the finals, but his team lost 4 straight to the Bucks. Fans started calling it a curse, as if Paul is destined to watch championships slip away. His numbers prove greatness, but his luck proves otherwise. And here's the thing. But first, only cool people are subscribed to this channel, so hit that subscribe button before we go any further. Because even if Paul's career is cursed, Minnesota's story might be just as bleak. The Timberwolves Curse. The Timberwolves have been around since 1989, but outside of Kevin Garnett's prime years, the franchise has been a graveyard of wasted talent and bad decisions. Garnett carried the team to the Western Conference Finals in 2004, but after that, it was years of losing and front office chaos. Drafting mistakes became part of their identity, most famously in 2009, when they selected Ricky Rubio and Johnny Flynn over Steph Curry. They struggled to hold on to stars like Kevin Love, and even when they landed Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, the pieces never clicked. The Jimmy Butler era ended in drama, with Butler walking out on practice and demanding a trade. Fans have waited decades for stability, but dysfunction keeps dragging them back. Minnesota is a place where potential goes to die, and every glimpse of hope turns into another chapter of frustration. And while the Timberwolves struggle for relevance, another franchise is stuck in a cycle of chaos that makes even this look stable. The Wizards Curse. The Wizards have been defined by strange misfortune and endless dysfunction. In the 1970s, they actually won a championship, but ever since, it's been one bizarre twist after another. Michael Jordan came out of retirement to play for them in 2001, but instead of sparking glory, it ended in disappointment and organizational rifts. Gilbert Arenas became a superstar in the mid-2000s, only for his career to derail after a locker room scandal that left the franchise in turmoil. Even promising stars like John Wall and Bradley Beal were derailed by injuries, endless losing, or trades that never brought back equal value. Washington often looks like a team cursed to live in the lottery, teasing fans with small runs before sliding back down. No matter the draft picks or trades, chaos follows. And when you compare them to franchises like the Knicks or Clippers, the Wizards quietly rival both in terms of long-term pain. But as cursed as Washington feels, some players carry curses that follow them individually, not just franchises. The NBA Live Cover Curse. Long before NBA 2K dominated basketball gaming, NBA Live was the go-to series. And strangely, its cover athletes often had awful luck the year after being featured. Steve Francis graced the cover in 2004, then saw his career spiral downward as he bounced between teams. Jason Kidd was the cover star in 2003, and his Nets dynasty ended that same year with back-to-back finals losses. Dwight Howard appeared in 2010, and within 2 seasons, he was shipped out of Orlando, beginning a stretch of injuries and team drama that derailed his prime. The trend continued enough that fans began whispering about a curse, just like Madden and football. NBA Live eventually faded away as a franchise, but the reputation of its cover stars collapsing stuck around. It became another piece of NBA lore, how a video game could ruin careers. And while that curse has faded with Live itself, there are still modern ones shaped not by covers, but by free agency itself. The small market free agency curse. For decades, small market NBA teams battled not just opponents, but the pull of bigger cities. Stars drafted in places like Milwaukee, Toronto, and Memphis often bolted for brighter lights and bigger markets, leaving franchises stuck in rebuilds. The Raptors lost Vince Carter and Chris Bosh before Kawhi Leonard's miracle season in 2019 finally broke the cycle. The Bucks nearly saw Giannis Antetokounmpo leave before building a championship roster around him. The Grizzlies and Pelicans have fought to keep their stars, often watching them leave at the peak of their powers. Fans began to believe small markets were cursed, unable to compete with glamour cities like Los Angeles or Miami. Even now, speculation always swirls when a young star shines in a smaller market. People wonder not if they'll leave, but when. The curse of small markets isn't about bad luck on the court. It's about the gravity of the league itself, pulling talent away. And while some franchises break free, others stay trapped forever. Yet the strangest curse of all may be the newest one. The curse of load management. The NBA's modern era created a new kind of curse: load management. Teams rest stars during the regular season, saving them for deep playoff runs. But the unintended consequence has been chemistry issues, lost seeding, and even injuries when it matters most. The Clippers built their entire philosophy around managing Kawhi Leonard and Paul George's minutes, only to see them miss playoff games anyway. Fans buy tickets expecting stars, only to find them sitting out in street clothes, fueling frustration across the league. And in some cases, resting players hasn't prevented injuries at all. Anthony Davis, Kawhi, and others still go down when their teams need them most. It's a curse of strategy backfiring, of trying to cheat the grind only for the grind to win. The NBA has even stepped in with new rules to limit rest games, but the damage to fan trust and team consistency is already done. And until a perfect balance is found, load management will remain basketball's strangest modern jinx. If you like this video, consider watching this next one, which YouTube thinks you are going to really love.